Hi everyone, this is Rob Redman of Prior Studios, and this is the first of a set of quick tips. So this will probably only be 3 or 4 minutes at most, but it might help if you don't know some of the shortcuts already. So let's dive into Cinema 4D, and I've got this very simple scene here, just 2 objects. If I float around that, you can see I've just got a cube and a sphere. Now if I go into point mode, I'll just make the objects editable. If I go into point mode on this cube, let's just zoom in here, and I pick this point here. If I had more points and things were this axis band was getting in the way, you can kind of click away, shift click and hold, and then go and grab other parts. But one thing which is quite useful that you can do is hold the Alt or Option key and hit the D. There you go, you can see your selections much more easily, and you can see exactly what's going on. You can do this up here in the filter as well, but we'll turn the axis back on. Also axis bands, that's this one here, so you've got the axis and the axis bands, so you can turn that off if you need to. That's the first useful tip. Gets more and more useful the more complicated your scene is, so bear that one in mind. Let's go back into object mode, and we'll just talk about grouping and making child and parent relationships. So if you have these 2 objects already in your scene, it's quite simple to just drag one into the other up here in the object browser. You can do it either way around. Let's make the sphere a child of the cube, and there you go, you can see you've got the little tick box to open up the hierarchy. But if we didn't have a sphere in the scene already, and we wanted to make a sphere which was the parent of the cube, what you would do is hold the Shift key down, go over here, add the sphere, and the original object in the scene becomes the parent of the object you're adding. Now if we just undo that, and we'll select the cube again, hold down the Alt or Option key and add the sphere. The sphere is now the parent, so you can do it either way around. So the Option key makes the new object a parent, and the Shift key makes the new object a child of the existing selected object in your browser, so in the object manager. Okay, so let's just get rid of those. We'll get rid of both of those, and we'll talk about another feature. So I'm going to try and draw a quick wine glass. Now if I try and center up the spline here, you can see in the coordinate manager it's the Z and the X axis are both on 0, which is exactly what I want, because I can now create my spline and I can create my wine glass like so, and all these points are getting put in pretty much exactly where I want them. Put that on there, add them to a lathe nerve, and we've got a spline, a wine glass created from this spline. Let's just bring this down, and what I want to show you is how clean it is in here. Everything's looking exactly how it should be, and it's all matching up fine. And you may think this model looks a little rough, but that's fine. This is how I would work for in a complicated scene. I keep this low res like this, and then either subdivide it when I know everything's in place and everything's set up, or just add it to the hypernerves like so. That just smooths it out. Just get rid of that for now. In fact, let's get rid of all of that, because I'm just going to try and explain one of the problems that some people come up against when they're using splines. If you hit the P key, which is our main shortcut of the day, you get this snapping menu pop up. So I'm going to set to no snapping, which is kind of default. Go back into my linear spline, match up as best as I can the center axis of the scene to the axis of the point that I'm putting in. So that was looking good, and we'll just do exactly the same as we did before. you can see that I'm having to kind of do a little bit more to line things up here. Just zoom out. Add that in. Oops. Add that one in there. That one in there. That one in there. And so on. And then this final one, just want to line that up on the axis. Add that into a lathe nerve, and you think, well, okay, that looks almost the same as the previous one. But if we go into our top view here and zoom in, you can see that things aren't quite as they appear. And that's because even though the axis was lining up in our viewport, the points actually weren't. So if I just highlight this spline, the last point we put in will still be selected, which is this one. And in the coordinates manager, you can see that it's not quite right. It's okay in the z-axis, but in the x, it's slightly off. Now I can hit 0 in there and put it in, and then we've got what we want. But that just adds more steps to your workflow. And these quick tips that I'm going to record are all about kind of speeding up your workflow. So that's just something to bear in mind. And that again, just so you recap, that was the P key, press and hold, and then you can turn on your snapping. I'll go into more information on the different snapping modes and then all the other options that become available in a future tutorial, but for now 2.5D snapping is a good one to use, and we'll just turn that on, and there you go. Final tip of the day is probably one that most people know about, and that's when you're working in any view, hit down the V key, hit and hold it, and that brings up your menus from the top here. So if I want to subdivide this glass object, instead of going all the way up here to structure, no, it's not in there, or functions, where is it? It's normally, oh, there it is. Find it, run the tool. All you need to do, there's two ways. You've got V key, which brings up those menus at the top, plus the edit spline one, which is quite useful as well for curving off edges. The spline that I just drew, which is linear, if I wanted to smooth that off, I could pick a point, hit the V key, edit spline, chamfer, and then just drag in a viewport, and that would curve off that edge for me. So yeah, V key, structure, functions, tools, objects. It's got all the different things in here. So I would go into functions, hit subdivide, oops, and keep typing V in there for some reason. So hit 1, there you go, done. The other one that goes alongside that, the other option, is to hover over your object and right click, which will bring up your structure tools. So you can hit the V key and you can go into structure and you've got that menu there, or you can right click and you've got it all there, or you can go up to structure here. So it's about finding the best way to do it for you. I find the V key is actually probably the quickest, because you get used to using it and then you'll not be heading up to the top of the screen all the time, and you can in fact save out yourself a menu layout which doesn't have all of those in there, and you don't need to worry about them, and you get a little bit more space to work in. And we'll talk about editing the layouts in a future video, because there's so much that can be done with the layouts in Cinema 4D. I hope those have been some useful quick tips for you. I'll be bringing some more very soon. Thanks very much. I've been Rob Redman, and I'll see you all again. Bye bye.